Her closest male friend mocked me at the dinner table. She deserves far more than someone like you. I completely took him apart right there in front of the entire group. She demanded an apology, or it was over between us. I gave a quiet smile. I stayed silent. But when she returned after several weeks, she discovered the real meaning of over. For 3 full years, my relationship with Sarah was steady, truly fulfilling. As an attorney, my work involves diving into the worst aspects of people's actions every day. Returning to her felt like entering a peaceful haven. She worked as a paralegal, incredibly intelligent, with a strong ambition to enter law school and build her own path. I respected that drive deeply. We were true teammates, planning a life together in the house I'd carefully restored over the years. It seemed real and secure. I wasn't merely paying for a partner's lifestyle. I was committing to the woman I intended to spend my life with. Yet there was always a quiet tension in the background, and that tension went by the name of Jake. Jake was her longtime friend from university, a self-employed graphic designer who viewed a regular job as something soul-crushing. He barely made ends meet creating designs for small local businesses just to cover his bills. To Sarah, he was her unwavering supporter, her purely platonic ally, the one who always stood by her. To me, he came across as someone who took advantage of others while carrying an oversized sense of self-importance, determined to chip away at what we had. He was clever in his approach, I have to admit. Never anything blatant enough to confront head-on. Just subtle digs, indirect criticisms wrapped in compliments. Her previous boyfriend, Tyler, a writer who had left her emotionally drained, was his favorite reference point. If I planned a relaxing trip for us to the mountains, Jake would slip in a memory of some spontaneous adventure they'd shared. You recall that, right, Sarah? He'd mention wistfully. Those kinds of experiences can't be planned. You need a partner who understands your free spirit. The implication was obvious. I was the boring, reliable option, while he represented the exciting world she'd supposedly given up. Sarah absorbed every word. She was fully convinced by his loyal friend routine. If I hinted that he was stepping over boundaries, she'd become protective. That's simply how Jake is. He was there when Tyler hurt me badly. He's only looking out for me. He's practically like a brother, Alex. I'm someone who exercises restraint. My profession requires it. You don't strike at the first sign of trouble. You observe, allow the opposition to speak, let them construct their own downfall. I waited until Jake provided the opening. That moment came about a month back. I'd just secured the most significant win of my professional life. Half a year devoted entirely to it. Endless late hours. Weekends lost to documents. But victory came. A huge success for the firm and personally for me. To mark the occasion, I organized a dinner gathering. My closest colleagues and friends, who I hadn't spent much time with lately, attended. Wanting to be inclusive, I encouraged Sarah to bring her circle, which naturally included Jake. The night unfolded beautifully. Pleasant conversation. The house alive with energy. The premium whiskey I'd been saving for a special time poured freely. For once, I was truly relaxing after so long. Jake, as expected, enjoyed the complimentary drinks, behaving as though the place belonged to him too. After a few rounds, he began his routine. A drawn-out talk about an art exhibition. Mostly a pretext to lecture on the divide between true creators and corporate drones. It's an entirely different perspective, he remarked, glancing my way. Some pursue genuine inspiration and originality. Others prefer security and routine. He savored a deliberate sip of my whiskey. My friends sent him looks that could curdle cream. I offered a polite, restrained smile, choosing not to engage. But he continued, addressing Sarah with an insincere expression of worry. I simply want your happiness, Sarah. Alex is dependable, responsible, a good supporter, consistent. He pronounced consistent as though it were a flaw. Then he met my eyes, a self-satisfied smirk forming. But honestly, she could aim much higher than you. That was the slip I'd waited for. The room went still, tension thick in the air. My friends appeared ready to intervene physically. Sarah fixed her gaze on her plate, face red, not from anger at him, but embarrassment over the spectacle. In that instant, everything became clear. The composed attorney stepped aside. The individual insulted in his own residence, surrounded by his circle, by someone benefiting from his hospitality, emerged. I placed my utensils down carefully, folded my hands, and looked straight at Jake. The welcoming host had vanished. The litigator had entered the arena. That's quite an assertion, Jake, I stated evenly and quietly. I'd like to understand your reasoning. In your considered opinion, what qualities define a superior partner for Sarah? Please elaborate clearly. Jake hesitated, anticipating an outburst rather than a precise line of questioning. You know, he stuttered, a person who aligns with her energy, an imaginative type, someone who truly comprehends her. I nodded. So the essential trait is creativity and excitement. And I suppose you position yourself as that example? I understand her more deeply than anybody, he boasted, straightening up. Excellent, I answered. Then you're the standard to measure against. Let's shift from impressions to concrete realities, commitment. As those present are aware, Sarah is midway through her law program at a prestigious institution with substantial costs. I'm funding it completely, not merely financially, but in faith in her potential and our shared path. So Jake, as the one claiming to be the superior match, what tangible contributions have you made to her ambitions recently, beyond your ongoing disapproval of me? Jake's color drained away. Sarah gave me an urgent glance. Alex, please stop, she murmured. I lifted a hand to pause her, focus remaining on Jake. I'm not done yet. Consider her vehicle, dependable, secure, transports her to classes reliably. I purchased it. You own a car as well, don't you, Jake? That eccentric little model that frequently needs fixing. Sarah has assisted with those costs multiple times over recent months, correct? Using funds from our joint resources, which I alone sustain. So Jake, beyond supporting Sarah's goals directly, I'm also maintaining your creative lifestyle on wheels. My appreciation to you. One of my friends stifled a chuckle, disguising it as a throat clear. Jake appeared struck. And lastly, I added, leaning in slightly, tone softening, this residence, her place of comfort. I hold the title. I cover the payments, handle repairs. You, on the other hand, have repeatedly fallen behind on your own lease, to the point Sarah steps in to help, again, using resources I provide. So let's recap your position for the group. You claim that a partner who supplies a secure living space, a trustworthy vehicle, and complete funding for advanced education falls short for Sarah. While a preferable alternative is someone who relies on her support, responds by attempting to undermine her partnership, motivated by what appears to be a pathetic, transparent, and rather unsettling fixation. Does that accurately capture your viewpoint, Jake? I settled back, argument concluded. Silence enveloped the space. Jake was demolished, a deconstructed witness, unable to respond. My friend stared at him with undisguised contempt. Then I turned to Sarah. Her expression churned with conflicting feelings, but the dominant one wasn't appreciation or understanding. It was intense fury. She pushed her seat away sharply, the sound grating on the floor, her frame shaking. I can't fathom that you did that, she spat. You embarrassed him publicly. He embarrassed himself, Sarah, I replied, exhausted. I presented the reality. Say sorry to him, she insisted, eyes flashing. Immediately, apologize to my closest friend for your actions, or it's finished between us. There was the decisive challenge, the conclusive proof. She aligned herself with the man just revealed as a parasitic manipulator, siding with him, selecting him. The affection I'd held for her didn't gradually diminish. It vanished entirely. I perceived her true nature at last. I didn't explode or raise my voice. I simply smiled. A gentle, regretful, concluding smile. Without replying, I took my whiskey and moved to the kitchen, leaving her isolated amid the hushed dining area. The matter was settled, the judgment rendered. The consequences unfolded swiftly. Sarah and Jake exited dramatically together. She relocated to his place that very evening, a decision fueled by her outrage and his disgrace. In her view, she'd issued a challenge, anticipating I'd pursue her, express regret, repair the damage. She failed to grasp that I'd accepted the outcome she'd proposed. For the next 14 days, I remained completely unreachable. I disregarded her attempts to contact me, her cascade of furious, then bewildered, then pleading messages, and the intermediaries she dispatched to advocate for her. I vanished from her reach. Rather than following after her, I took decisive steps. My home, formerly our shared space, resembled a site needing closure. Over a weekend, I systematically gathered her possessions into containers, not maliciously, but as a necessary clearing. I acted as the administrator finalizing a concluded arrangement. Once complete, I placed the containers in a spare room, replaced the locks, and refreshed all access codes. Then I placed 2 difficult but essential calls, the natural results of her dinner declaration. The first went to the admissions director at her law program, an acquaintance from professional networks. In measured, business-like language, I informed them that owing to a permanent change in my circumstances, the dedicated financial support I'd arranged for Sarah's education would cease at once. The second call reached a high-level colleague at my office. I'd arranged a valuable summer position for her there, a major career boost. I explained that an unavoidable personal disagreement had developed, necessitating the cancellation of that placement. I derived no satisfaction from these actions. My assistance stemmed from our mutual commitment, which she'd shattered. She could no longer draw from it. Precisely 14 days following the gathering, she showed up at my entrance. From the monitor, I observed her fumbling with her former key, bewilderment shifting to frustration as it refused to turn. She pressed the doorbell. I answered, leaving the security chain engaged. She appeared exhausted, her earlier indignation replaced by evident strain. Cohabiting with an insolvent, self-centered designer had evidently worn her down. "Alex, we have to discuss this," she said. "No, Sarah, we do not," I responded. "You selected your path." The discussion ended. "You can't discard 3 years because of a single disagreement," she begged, tears welling. I was upset. I reacted impulsively. "It wasn't merely a disagreement," I stated. "It was an instant of true insight. You faced a decision between your committed partner and the individual actively sabotaging our bond. You picked him. You required that I express remorse to him. That's irreversible." Alarm grew as she understood my resolve. "But all our plans," she faltered. "Law studies, the position?" "Indeed, regarding those," I said, allowing the pause to linger. "Your remaining term's fees are payable soon, aren't they? I trust you and Jake have arranged something, since my stake in that future has concluded." Her complexion paled. "What?" she breathed. "And the opportunity at my office," I went on, without relenting. "That has been canceled. The firm prioritizes avoiding complications." She staggered slightly, hand covering her lips. That placement represented her major advancement, and her prospects were collapsing in front of her. "You aren't permitted to do this," she whispered, voice fracturing. "Alex, please, don't." "It's already handled," I told her. "Choices carry outcomes. You presented an either-or demand. Apologize or end it. I selected the end. Now face what follows. Seek assistance from Jake, the one supposedly superior to me. Surely his creative talent extends to funding your $50,000 education and restoring the professional path you forfeited." I shut the door on her tear-stained features. I experienced neither triumph nor grief, just calm. The proceedings had concluded. What followed was foreseeable. Sarah's circumstances deteriorated. She withdrew from her program with graduation so near, her aspiration extinguished. From accounts by acquaintances, she and Jake continue in his small unit, an unhappy arrangement. She's filled with bitterness toward what his presence cost her, and he's stuck with someone whose anger reflects his own shortcomings. He obtained her company, but a diminished version he lacks the means to support. I didn't act out of spite. I acted for my own sake. A partnership is an agreement, and she violated its fundamental term, fidelity. My steps weren't retaliation. They were upholding the agreement's conditions. She sought to understand the full implication of over. She now comprehends it. It signifies the assistance halts, the commitment withdraws, and the one who constructed the life departs, leaving you amid the wreckage you assisted in creating.